Super Smash Bros. Is a bad fighting game, and here's why. Bad shielding mechanics. Shielding in Super Smash Bros. Puts you in this idiotic My Little Pony colored shield. Not only does it make you look stupid, it actually is stupid as well. Anything outside of this stupid shield is vulnerable to being attacked. The actual size of the shield can actually put you in more danger than if you didn't shield at all. The longer you hold shield, the smaller it gets, which means you're more likely to be shield poked or shield broken. This has been in Smash Bros. Since day one, and it's every bit as idiotic right now as it was back when the first game released. Imagine playing in a world tour with 50,000 spectators watching, and while blocking a flurry of attacks in a fighting game, your guard just decided to break because, well, the developer didn't want to offend mediocre players who never learned that offense is more than just spazzing out on the attack button. And that's not to mention the fact that the game has shield drop recovery frames, making this seizure-inducing spazzing more effective than actually using the game's defensive options. Fast falling ruins what little neutral this series could have. There, I said it. Every time I see myself or anyone fast fall in aerial, my IQ falls a few points. For those of you thinking, if this is true, I should be a slobbering retard at this point, don't worry. I was born with an IQ of 300,000 and it only reduced to 289,000. Quick fun fact. You can't fast fall aerials in Smash 64. You either have to wait for the aerial to finish, or do nothing. This is how it should be. Smash Bros. In general has a problem with non-committal aerial options that leads to people jumping constantly and using aerials far more than the game should encourage you to. This even extends to characters who were clearly designed from conception to be primarily played on the ground. Fast falling is used constantly because it allows the fast faller to do lots of option selects and stay safer than if they had to simply wait to hit the ground. Option selects are bad for fighting games because you don't want one option solving multiple problems. You don't want the same scenario to have the same response regardless of what your opponent is doing. Fast falling actually also presented issues in the previous Super Smash Bros. Games, most notably Melee, where it was actually introduced. There was also directional air dodging, but it froze you in place for longer than it did in Ultimate, in which case the fast falling character can actually hit the ground before you were able to react and get out of the lag animation or recovery frames, and they were able to punish you even though they already threw in an attack, and logically it should be the other character's turn to mount their offense. In other fighting games, you actually can't fast fall to the ground, and if you can, it's a specific technique that actually stops you from doing anything else, but not in Super Smash Bros. This leads to the mechanic being rather stupid or lackluster, as it doesn't work the same against all characters. It's either a guessing mechanic, which is always unfun in a fighting game, or it's completely useless in the case if you're going against someone like Fox, or Wolf, or Captain Falcon. Stubbing out jump-ins or constant jumpers in other fighting games that aren't inspired by Mario Party is usually from an anti-air, if you're on the ground, a parry/counter if you're on the ground or in the air, or meeting them in the air with a air grab if you're already in the air with them. Counters perplex the Super Smash Bros. Development team. After 20 years, they still haven't figured out how to design them properly, which is strange because they seem to like counters a lot in this franchise. Anti-airs have actually been in Super Smash Bros. Since Melee. However, as opposed to giving moves air and grounded properties to allow grounded anti-airs to function properly, in true Sakurai fashion, he takes the easiest route possible and just slap invincibility frame on parts of the model that inevitably leads to gimmicks and exploit that define this franchise's competitive identity. With aerial spamming being the status quo in the franchise, this naturally puts grounded-focused characters at a disadvantage, with them needing obscene amounts of knockback, super armor, and invincibility frames to still end up several tiers below characters who are defined by a single move.
Use an umbrella in a thunderstorm to block
What?
lightning?
You know that.
Oh my god.
Terrible hitboxes and lack of competent design flow. Design flow is important in any fighting game. Naturally, this means Super Smash Bros. Fails at it. If you play any fighting game worth its salt, you know that if a grab and attack happen on the same frame, the attack wins. Grabs are close quarter options granted to the offensive player for getting close enough to do so. They don't outrange attacks, and being close isn't all that's asked of you. You can't be predictable either. A skilled defensive player can stare you down and punish you if you're overeager and uncoordinated. Grabs can be teched, and attacks can be parried, insta-blocked, countered, or backdashed, In Super Smash Bros., not only can you grab attacks, they can also trade, leading to strange interactions that neither player could ever prepare for. There are also outrange mini attacks and can be done while sprinting for whatever reason, negating any competency required to utilize them. It's just press the button. They also can be teched. Low IQ Smash players often conflate grab clanking, which might be a glitch anyway, to grab teching, but they're as bad at thinking as they are with showering, as the interactions in Smash Bros. Ultimate do not function as a tech at all, considering you have to grab prior to getting grabbed yourself, which is not how grabs work, because grab teching is whenever you get grabbed and you can tech the grab from the person who grabbed you and you don't have to do it beforehand, making it nothing more than a novelty and not even close to a real game mechanic. The terrible grab ranges reflect a larger problem with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as a whole, as it does something no other fighting game would ever attempt to do, and that's automate hitboxes. To explain this further, fighting games have hitboxes and hurtboxes. Hitboxes are the area of effectiveness of attacks, and hurtboxes are areas where you can be attacked. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes not. In Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Super Smash Bros. 4, the hitboxes of characters are directly attached to the model to make designing characters easier. This means that simple things such as idle animations can shrink or enlarge hitboxes. This is most notable with characters like Marth, who can whiff a killing blow after a shield break due to the busy character animations. This applies to all characters, however, and any animation can cause perfectly timed and placed attacks to miss, such as Lucas' landing animation, Kirby's recovering and healing animation, and so on and so forth. This makes combos, attacks, and by extension, the entire game highly inconsistent given how some characters are designed and how they like to twist and contort their bodies doing hit stun or flinch. While Diddy Kong's second hit of his jab had his hitbox expanded and the Fire Emblem characters had their grab ranges increased, you can see how Smash Bros. Mechanics are fundamentally rotten to the core, and as these band-aids only create new problems instead of pragmatically fixing old ones. In good fighting games not made by Nintendo, flinching puts you in a negative frame advantage so you can't attack your opponent for hitting you. Smash Bros. Has plenty of interactions in which characters mash a fast attack to escape being juggled or comboed. In better fighting games, this doesn't happen because you get countered. A counter hit in fighters is when you take additional damage or hit stun for being hit during the startup or recovery frames of a move, for example, with dragon punches, or other moves that developers want to punish for over-reliance. Smash has one version of being counter hit, and that is when charging a smash attack, you take additional knockback. This is good, but overall inefficient because smash attacks aren't what they should design the entire game around, and like most things in Smash Bros., it doesn't work properly. It has no effect for multi-hit moves, as only the first hit actually counts. So Ken Shoryuken wouldn't get the benefit, but Ryu's does. Terrible controls. The controls being bad in Smash is an understatement. To fully comprehend just how bad the controls are, download an emulator to play Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi with the Guitar Hero peripheral. Only then will you touch the tip of the iceberg of stupidity that is Smash Bros. Controls. In Smash's engine, the inputs are mostly all macros. Macros being that there are actually two or more inputs put together. For example, grab can't actually be assigned to its own button. It's the attack button and shield together, which is why holding it results in the character shielding. The C-stick or smash stick is just a direction and attack button input normally at the same time, which is why sometimes you'll get tilts even when programmatically it is unintended. This has the effect of not being able to adequately customize your controls, so you can't turn off things like smash stick on the main control stick because the engine wasn't designed to allow inputs and attacks happen without smashing. Meaning if you, like me, would rather not use smash attack with the control stick and would rather exclusively use AB smash, you can't because nobody on the development team thought anyone would want to play the game differently than how they did. You also can't turn off smash stick in general. You'll always sprint when smashing it, and you can't put it on double tap like a normal fighting game. Fun fact, there are more missed inputs and unintended inputs in the top 16 of a Smash Bros. Tournament than games like Guilty Gear Xrd, BlazBlue, or Street Fighter. Smash Bros. Is also one of the few fighting games that has top-level competitors changing their controls to make techniques or exploits more accessible due to the simplified control scheme of the series doing more harm than good. Ken and Ryu will do inputs without a button press after a down air on hit or on shield, and after a focus attack dash cancel. It will erroneously cause them to do Tatsumaki due to the poor programming of how inputs are handled. You can also do Hadokens in the wrong direction despite Tatsumaki being the attack that should have happened in 1v1s. To most people, this is preaching to the choir, and just from the look of Super Smash Bros., they would assume it's a party game and not actually a fighting game. But I wanted to make this video because it seems like lots of new franchises, or lots of new fighting games like SNK Heroines, Blade Strangers, Cross Tag Battle, and so on and so forth seem to be taking inspiration from Super Smash Bros. Simple gameplay. or simplified gameplay. It's leading to a ton of really garbage games that I really don't want to play, and fighting games one of my favorite franchise, but every one that seems to come out is either complete shit or made by Capcom. It's been an extremely long time since we actually had a really good fighting game, and I don't think we'll ever actually get one again when stuff like Mortal Kombat keeps coming out, or stuff like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, or Cross Tag Battle, or any of the On the Night and Birth games. Wow, fighting games are shit at the moment.